This morning, a 90-year-old company stopped. Not slowed, not reduced. Stopped completely. And before the smoke had even cleared, it sent a legal notice to every customer on its books with 3 lines that shook global energy markets to their foundation. We cannot fulfill your contract. We cannot guarantee your delivery. We cannot tell you when we will be operational again. That company is BAPCO, the Bahrain Petroleum Company, the only oil refinery in the entire Kingdom of Bahrain. Not one of several, the only one. A facility just modernized with a $7.3 billion upgrade. Engineered to process 400,000 barrels of oil every single day, designed to produce the jet fuel and ultra-low sulfur diesel that keeps planes in the sky and trucks moving across Asia and Europe. This was not a crumbling relic. This was peak infrastructure, freshly built, billions invested, operating at maximum capacity. This morning, Iranian Shahed drones found it. The fire that erupted at the Almir facility lit up the entire Manama skyline for hours. Thick black smoke visible from highways across the entire island kingdom. Every emergency response unit in Bahrain mobilized simultaneously. Firefighters, hazmat teams, military personnel, all racing toward the same burning horizon. And by the time those flames were being contained, BAPCO had already filed the legal document that travels faster than any drone, hits harder than any missile, and reaches further than any fire. Force majeure. 2 words. In normal times, those 2 words sit quietly inside contract law textbooks nobody reads. In wartime, they mean something far simpler and far darker. We have been hit. We are down. And the world's fuel supply just got smaller. BAPCO is not the beginning of this story, not even close. BAPCO is the latest chapter in a story accelerating for 10 consecutive days, and every chapter has been worse than the one before. Qatar Energy declared force majeure first. The world's largest LNG plant halted all exports overnight. 20% of global liquefied natural gas gone, not reduced, not delayed, removed from the market in a single declaration. Kuwait followed with production cuts that sent analysts tearing up supply projections published just days earlier. Then came Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura refinery, one of the largest on the entire planet. Closed. Iranian strikes. Offline. And now Bahrain's only refinery. Freshly upgraded, newly modernized, billions invested, offline, force majeure. One by one, the energy infrastructure of the richest oil region on the planet is going dark, facility by facility, declaration by declaration, and the number that captures what this means for every person alive on Earth today is this. Brent crude oil hit $119 per barrel this morning. That is 60% higher than the day this war started 10 days ago. 60% in 10 days. The largest sustained oil price surge in over 50 years. Not since 2008. Not since last year. In over half a century. Those are not opinions. That is the arithmetic of a world that built everything on one assumption and is now watching that assumption burn. Bloomberg confirmed this morning that $6 trillion in global stock market value has been wiped out since February 28th. $6 trillion. Gone. Not from one country, not from one sector. From every market simultaneously, across every time zone on the planet. Japan's Nikkei down 7%, South Korea's Kospi down 8%, Germany's DAX down nearly 3%, London's FTSE down 2%, U.S. stock futures pointing lower before Wall Street even opened. Samsung, the company making the screen you are reading this on, watched its shares fall 12% as Seoul markets opened. Not because Samsung did anything wrong, because Samsung needs energy to run its factories. Samsung needs jet fuel to ship its products. Samsung needs a functioning global supply chain. And this morning, the global supply chain is not functioning normally. This is not a Middle Eastern problem anymore. This is a planetary economic emergency unfolding in real time across every screen, every market, every currency, every continent simultaneously. And it started with a drone hitting a refinery on a small island most people could not locate on a map before today. Iran's message to the Gulf states this morning was not delivered through a diplomat, not through a press release, through the smoke rising from BAPCO's Almir facility, and the message was not ambiguous. It was specific, public, and addressed directly to every Gulf state watching from the sidelines. If you can handle $200 per barrel oil, stay with Trump. If you cannot, separate yourself from this war. That is not analysis. Iran's leadership stated it directly. Stand with America and absorb the consequences inside your own energy infrastructure. Or recognize that American military bases on your soil are the precise reason your refineries are burning. This is the strategic logic Bahrain failed to calculate when it became the first Gulf state to fire missiles directly at Iran. Bahrain, one of the smallest, most exposed nations in the region, a country on a single island 29 miles long, a nation whose entire economic foundation depends on the refinery that is currently on fire. That decision opened a door that has not closed since. Iran's response was methodical and precise. Target Bahrain's most valuable economic asset, not military infrastructure, economic infrastructure, the thing that funds the government and connects Bahrain to the global economy. And this morning, that targeting produced a force majeure declaration that will ripple through global fuel markets for weeks. Qatar's energy minister Assad Al-Kaabi gave an interview to the Financial Times this week and said something every oil trader on the planet immediately flagged. Every Gulf energy exporter that has not yet declared force majeure is expected to do so within the next few days, if this continues. He projected oil reaching $150 per barrel. Then he said something no energy minister says publicly, unless he genuinely believes it. All regional producers could be forced to halt production entirely. Not reduce, not cut, halt completely. When the energy minister of the world's largest LNG exporter says that to the Financial Times, not behind closed doors publicly for the world to read, it is not speculation. It is a man with direct first-hand knowledge of regional infrastructure telling the world what the trajectory looks like from inside it. The G7 responded by announcing a coordinated release of approximately 400 million barrels from emergency petroleum reserves through the International Energy Agency. Stated goal: prevent oil going further vertical. Buy time. But here's the arithmetic problem, and arithmetic does not negotiate. 400 million barrels sounds enormous until you do the math. At current global daily consumption, 400 million barrels buys approximately 10 to 12 days of supply coverage, 10 to 12 days. After that, the reserve is depleted. And the underlying problem, Strait of Hormuz closed, Gulf production shutting down, refineries burning, still exists, unchanged, unresolved. The emergency stockpile is finite, built to bridge a gap, not fill a crater. Japan understood this immediately. Emergency orders issued today to begin releasing oil from its national strategic reserve. And Japan's situation has no workaround. Zero domestic oil production, not a small amount. Zero. Every factory, every car, every heated home, every product shipped from Japanese ports, and all of it runs on fuel arriving by ship. When those ships stop coming through the Strait of Hormuz, Japan has no domestic alternative. It has a reserve. And this morning, Japan started spending that reserve. South Korea's president issued public warnings against panic buying at gas stations. When a head of state has to publicly instruct their population not to panic, it means the conditions for panic already exist. The Philippines Stock Exchange reported sharp losses. Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, every Asian market opened red this morning, together, simultaneously, because energy prices do not respect borders, and a refinery burning in Bahrain reaches every economy on earth through the same fuel price everything is built on. Mujtaba Khamenei, Iran's new supreme leader, selected just yesterday, the son of the man America killed to start this war, has inherited a country whose military is operating at full autonomous capacity, whose weapons factories are running at double production, and whose strategic objective is explicitly stated: drive oil to $200 per barrel, not as a side effect, as the primary weapon. The specific mechanism to make America's continuation of this war economically and politically impossible inside its own borders. $200 is not a hope. It is a target being engineered, one refinery at a time, one force majeure at a time. Trump's response to $119 oil, a social media post saying prices will drop rapidly once Iran is destroyed. He called people concerned about rising prices fools. When Trump stood at the State of the Union bragging about energy prices, gas in Iowa was $1.85 a gallon. Today the national average is approaching $4. Analysts project it crosses that mark within weeks. The distance between $1.85 and $4 is not a statistic. It is every American family at a pump doing math they were not prepared to do. Every small business watching delivery costs double. Every airline repricing every ticket. Every grocery store repricing everything that arrived by truck, which is everything on every shelf. Today, March 9th, 2026, day 10 of this war, something crossed a threshold that does not uncross. This war started as a military confrontation between three countries. Today, it became a confirmed global economic crisis with a $6 trillion price tag still climbing by the hour. BAPCO force majeure, Qatar energy force majeure, Kuwait production cuts, Saudi Ras Tanura closed, Bahrain's desalination plant struck, Tehran oil depots burning, black rain on residential streets, Japan spending its emergency reserve, South Korea warning against panic, Germany's industrial sector staring at energy costs threatening factory viability, every airline stock falling simultaneously because jet fuel is tracking toward prices that make commercial aviation economically marginal. This is what 119 oil does. not just to people filling cars, to every interconnected system in a global economy built over 50 years on one foundational assumption: Gulf oil will flow reliably through the Strait of Hormuz forever. That assumption is being dismantled, one force majeure declaration at a time. The SPI asset management analyst described what traders felt when markets opened this morning in the clearest possible language. The oil alarm bell this time was not a polite chime. It was a fire siren. Qatar's minister projected $150. Kapler analysts projected $150 by end of March if the strait stays closed. The strait has shown zero signs of reopening. Iran has stated it will target any American or Israeli vessel attempting transit. And the new supreme leader, whose father was killed by those vessels, is not negotiating passage for the people who handed him a war and a funeral simultaneously. France's Macron called Iran's Pezeshkian this week, asking the strikes to stop. Iran's response was a question. Did you condemn America when it killed 170 children in a school? Did Europe stand up? Did anyone say the word accountability before calling to ask Iran to stop responding? Nobody had a good answer. Because there is no good answer. Switzerland formally stated the American-Israeli strikes violate international law. The Pope called for the bombs to stop. The UN Secretary General called the attacks unlawful. China warned about flames spreading beyond containment. Russia confirmed it is actively assisting Iran. And America's own National Intelligence Council formally concluded this war was unlikely to achieve its stated objectives. Every independent institution is saying the same thing. The premise was wrong. The execution produced the opposite of its stated goals. The economic damage is global and accelerating. The military objectives, regime change, nuclear elimination, regional stability, are further from achievement on day 10 than on day 1. The fire at BAPCO's Almere facility is still being contained on Bahrain's Sitra Island right now. 90 years of operations, $7.3 billion in upgrades, 400,000 barrels daily capacity. This morning, offline, force majeure. Force. Contracts canceled, deliveries suspended, oil at $119, $6 trillion erased. Japan spending its emergency reserve, South Korea warning against panic, and Iran's new supreme leader, the dead man's son, watching every number from Tehran. He has not asked for a ceasefire. He has not moderated his position by a single degree. His target is $200 oil. He is at $119. The distance between those two numbers is the distance between where this war stands today and where Iran intends to take it. The G7 has 10 to 12 days of emergency reserve coverage. After that window closes, the math runs out. The reserves are empty, the crisis remains unresolved, burning. And the fire at Almere is still burning.